So going back to your original question, how do I feel about the Celtics, about the winning championship?
Yep.
Fuck Boston. That's how I feel about that. I don't think it really needs much explanation here on a Philadelphia-centered podcast.
Correct.
In terms of Jrue Holiday, I am happy for Jrue. I got to cover Jrue. I was on the beat when he was here.
I was with you.
Great guy, real hard worker, always rooted for him. It was real easy to do so. Even though he's already won one, winning a second one, I'm happy for Jrue individually. Fuck Boston, but go Jrue Holiday. In terms of the trade, though, and I saw some people debating this online, which is a part of why I think it's on today's show. Was Jrue Holiday? Jrue Holiday's about to win his second title before the Sixers ever got out of the second round. There might be somebody here in the office who has said almost that exact line. So does that make the trade from 11 years ago now a mistake? No, of course not. First of all, if you would go through over the last 11 years, the 3 moves that were unqualified successes, you could probably only come up with 3, but they're real easy to come up with. Drafting Joel Embiid, acquiring Jimmy Butler in a trade, and drafting Tyrese Maxey. Everything else has a little bit of qualifications, or it could be outright disasters. Like there's been a lot of mistakes over that stretch. 3 decisions, though, that have put them in the spot that they are, or Jimmy's put them in a spot where they were a contender. Trading Jrue Holiday directly influenced 2 of those. So let's go back and remember what the Jrue Holiday trade was. They traded Jrue Holiday for Nerlens Noel, which was the 6th pick in the draft, and a future draft pick, which became Dario Saric. Because the Sixers traded Jrue Holiday, they ended up with the worst record in the league that year. Was it the worst record? I forget. They're only the worst record one of the 3 years with Hinkie, I think, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They ended up with a really bad record and ended up with the 3rd pick in the draft. Pretty sure they had the worst record that year. It doesn't matter. Who they take with the 3rd pick in the draft? Joel Embiid.
Yep.
Part of the calculus in the Jrue Holiday trade was 3 things. It was getting that 6th pick in the draft in Nerlens. All right, they whiffed on that. It was getting the future draft pick for Dario Saric. Sort of had a qualified success on that one. We'll get to that. And it was losing games. And Jrue Holiday being on the roster was going to prevent you were going to be a decent team. Not a good team, not a good enough team, nowhere near a good enough team. But you were going to be a decent team that was going to win games and was going to influence your own draft pick. Part of the calculus of that trade was to get your draft pick better. They did that. They hit a home run. And because of that, we have had a decade of frustration. Not solely because of Joel Embiid, obviously, mostly because of the decisions after that. But getting that guy, getting that franchise talent was a crucial first step. And I thought Rich Hoffman on Twitter brought it up. Jrue Holiday as your 3rd or 4th or 5th player, fantastic. Fantastic. You love him. You love the defense. You love the way he's able to crash the glass on offense. He had a huge, driving kick, 3-pointer to, I think it was Derek White last night. He has that kind of court vision. He can give you scoring. He had 2 real strong games here earlier in the scoring department. But if you are relying on him to initiate your offense, if you're relying on him to be a 20, 25 point per game scorer, he's going to leave you wanting. He cannot be your best player. So if you're sitting there, yes, he is perfect for the Bucks a couple of years ago. He is perfect for the Celtics right now. But he is not a franchise guy, and he cannot get in the way of you getting a franchise guy. And then Dario Saric, was he great? No, but he was a key part of that trade package. In fact, there wasn't. I don't think they traded any draft picks for Jimmy Butler, did they?
No,
it was just Saric and
Covington and Bayless.
Yeah, he was a key part of that of being able to trade for an in your prime Jimmy Butler. Now it didn't work out. The Nerlens draft pick didn't work out, but taking that calculated risk of I'm going to improve our own 1st round draft pick. I'm going to get another top 6 pick. I'm going to get another lottery pick that eventually became a key part of the Jimmy Butler package. That was all good. That was all good.
So when I look back at it, and just to be clear, as we talk about this, Derek knows this. Maybe some of you don't know this in this forum. I was never big on the rebuild that they went through. We've talked about this a lot over the years. Understood it, like I always said, understood it, but I didn't like the path that they were going through. That being said, with where they are right now, the thing is, as Derek lays that out, it doesn't mean, and while they would have been good, it doesn't mean moving on from those other pieces that Jrue Holiday would have been so good that he would have kept them, let's say, so far away from the top 5 of the lottery potentially where they could not have won, at least landed in that top 3 somewhere, or at least in that top 5, because Jrue Holiday at that time, while he was on the verge and did make the All-Star team one time, he wasn't enough, as you just pointed out and as Rich pointed out, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th option where he was going to affect winning in that way where they were going to be so high in the win column that was going to keep them in that position to keep them away from being in the lottery. We would still be having the conversation. The question is where the trades from Iguodala to Evan Turner and others on that team are also going to take away from what you are, talented players. You're leaving them there at that point with Jrue Holiday. Thaddeus Young eventually leaves as well. I forgot to mention him. That Jrue Holiday would have been the only one. It doesn't mean that Jrue Holiday couldn't have been one of the centerpieces to move on with as you started to get those wins. Now, maybe he would have helped win way too many games to keep you away from that spot. But it also means that just because Joel Embiid was the one that you did land, which has been great, which has been fantastic, even though we're still talking about the second round with him and Jrue Holiday on the verge of his second title, that they couldn't have found a way to get another franchise-type player in one of these drafts, whether it was Jason Tatum at some point or Ben Simmons in that draft, whoever it may have been, looking at some of those players that they couldn't have drafted. And I don't have the draft list here in front of me to say who it was or who it might have been. That's Sam Hinkie's job to do so. Jrue Holiday, we were looking at that point saying, that's a good piece right there. You know why you're doing it, to get those draft picks and to get this thing started. But since he's so young, and he's also showing this already, could you keep him and then maintain that level of decency, at least for right now, as you build with him, find that other franchise player where he could be that second or third best player and eventually turn into what he's turning into as a key contributor, discussed as an MVP for the finals. May not go to him, but discussed as an MVP. Jalen's got that locked up. Yeah, after the game 2 with Jrue, looked like Jrue might have been in that conversation, but Jaylen Brown now has that locked in. But it doesn't mean that with him being the general manager, the president of basketball operations, overseeing all of their personnel and what they were doing and trying to put this team together, that acquiring all those draft picks, even with Jrue Holiday on the roster, that they couldn't somehow, some way, find a way to build with Jrue Holiday while still putting the rest of that team together because he was young. And I'm looking at some of these other franchises that are doing it right now. It's tough to go Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because he wasn't a draft pick; he was acquired in a trade. But if you look at that and say, "All right, you got
well,
Shai,"
they could have had Shai,
right? Well, that too. But you have Shai, and then you just start to build, and put the right pieces surrounding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. At that time, surrounding Jrue Holiday with the right pieces, because the ultimate goal was, yes, to find that franchise player, find that one piece, but also build where maybe you find that one and one that you didn't expect somewhere else within those draft picks that they have. And that's where it gets frustrating, because as we try to look at it logically and discussing, and not saying that Derek is wrong in anything, the way I look at it also, and Rich is also right in his Twitter post that he made, I'm the one that didn't like it in the first place. So I can look at anything and say, yeah, I'm right, because this guy's about to win his second one. But it's just no more of, yeah, I didn't like it. I understood it. I didn't like it. And if you are this guy who's this genius of finding these players and going in this weird little route that you're taking advantage of the collective bargaining agreement, and you're able to find a player here or there and then put this group together that's going to win down the line, why couldn't he have done that way also?
We all silly like the mayor.